Hello, this is bullied, and I hope you're having a great day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your thumbs up, for your comments, and thank you for sharing the videos. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. I just read this article from the Associated Press, and I think it begins to answer questions that we have about why having black police officers on these police forces doesn't help black people. Matter of fact, it's as bad or worse having black police officers as not. So on April the 15th, which is this coming Saturday, black police chiefs, commissioners, sheriffs, and commanders from across the country are going to meet in Detroit for their annual symposium. And they're going to discuss why having black police officers on these forces don't necessarily benefit black citizens. Ahead of this meeting, retired black police officers are speaking out, and they're revealing why this is the case, why having our own people on a police force can't help us. And it's about what we would expect. They go into these all-white or mostly white police departments, and they're the odd man out. They have a culture of this is how we're going to do things, because the reality is they don't want to police anybody but black people. We know that, and that's why people are saying defund the police and do away with them. This whole policing business came out of the slave system of trying to patrol these enslaved people, the patrollers. So that's still what they want to do. That's how come you can have a situation where there is terrorists in a school and police officers stand outside on the outside and do nothing. They could make up all kinds of excuses about why they can't go into the school and confront the person that's actually a threat to the children in the school. We've had a couple of instances, including the one in Texas and also in Florida, where the police officers stood outside. The children are alone with the gunman and they won't go in. The children are trying to save themselves and they're standing outside the building talking, won't even go inside the building to make an assessment. But now you let something go on with black people when nobody's armed. Let some white person imagine that some harmless black person who's not bothering anybody is a threat. And they'll come in with guns blazing and they'll take that person down, even call for backup. So that's always been a concern among black people. Why is a black person who is harmless, who's no threat to anybody, looked upon as a threat? But a white person who's waving a weapon around, threatening to wipe everybody out, somehow they can look the other way. So these black police officers have addressed this, and I'm really glad they're beginning to say something, because they go into these police departments, white male dominated, with the culture of we're only going to police black people. Now, this is not what they're saying. This is what I'm saying, having read the article and drawn my own conclusion. So this article says black chiefs to meet amid debate on benefit of cop diversity. So during their symposium this weekend, they are going to discuss what the point is of having black men and black women on these police forces when they can't help black people. So the article begins, over his 32-year police career in Dallas, Terrence Hopkins has seen tremendous changes in the profession. For rookie black officers in a predominantly white and conservative field, he said, the prevailing feeling used to be that you were lucky to be allowed to be on the force. And so that means that if you're lucky to be on the force in their mind, then you're going to come here and get in lockstep with whatever we're doing, which means when we go in these black neighborhoods, policing people that aren't doing anything, you're going to either go along with it or you're going to keep your mouth shut. And if they interfere when they see the police committing crimes against black people or speak out against it, then they make a big move to get rid of those police officers. And we've heard that before, and we've seen it before. They're going to get rid of you if you don't go along with what they're doing, because after all, they're doing important police work. They're policing black people. And look at what happened the other day in Louisville when the gunman went into the bank and committed that mass shooting. The veteran policeman who should have been leading the charge against the threat, we don't know where they were. The rookie, Nicholas Wilt, 26 years old, ran toward the gunman. He got the worst end of it because he faced the gunman head on, and I think he's still in critical but stable condition. Somebody behind him, no doubt somebody hiding behind a counter, was able to take the gunman out, but it's very telling that a rookie cop was the one that had to lead the charge. So the question is, where was the rest of them? Where was the veteran cop that should have been leading the charge since they're so tough? And I haven't even heard about anybody calling for backup. Now let a 12-year-old black child be playing in the park with a water gun, or a black man looking at a gun in Walmart. That's a threat. They view that as a threat, and they're going to call the police, and they're going to rush in and take their lives and call for backup. And oh, I forgot, this Louisville Police Department was the same police department that broke into Breonna Taylor's house and stole her life. She was a threat, laying up in the bed with her man, trying to get some sleep before going to work the next day. But she was a threat, and they took her life. And this Louisville Police Department now has a black woman police chief. And she came out talking about how quickly they responded and how brave they were. There was only one brave person, and I grudgingly say 1.5 brave police officers on the scene that day. But Nicholas Wilt was the hero. But she's up there talking about how brave they were. That's a joke. A lot of them are just cowards hiding behind a badge waiting for an opportunity to police black people. So this article says, now it is not unusual to see veteran black police officers in top leadership roles, but the issues that plague the profession's reputation in black communities, excessive use of lethal force, racial profiling, and routine brutality from officers have not become relics of the past under diverse leadership. That reality has been laid bare by the beating death of Tyree Nichols in Memphis, Tennessee, and the in-custody restraint death of Ervo Atiano that involved Virginia sheriff deputies. See, that's what I'm talking about. These people were unarmed. They were not a threat. Now, that doesn't mean they're not a nuisance. A nuisance and a threat are two different things. But they want to deal with a nuisance, but they don't want to deal with a threat. Neither Tyree Nichols or this guy is Kenyan, I believe. These people were not armed. In the case of the Kenyan man, this man was already restrained. And somehow he ends up losing his life in custody with black men standing around watching and participating in some cases. And we know what happened in Memphis. So nobody has a problem policing unarmed black people. So this is what the retired Dallas police officer says. And I think he's hitting a nail on the head. He says, part of the problem is that too many black police leaders walk on eggshells about addressing bad policing and racism in the force. He said, you're still in a conservative, white male-dominated profession. If they don't buy into you, they're calling for your job. In other words, if you don't go along with them, what they're doing, they're going to call for your job. And they're going to get it. Because they're going to bully and harass you until you leave if they don't fire you. So I think that explains why there are not as many black police officers on these police forces as there should be. But if black police officers are going to come in and be worse than the white police officers, there's no point. We don't need them. And I will say, in my personal experience, I prefer to be stopped by a white policeman if I'm speeding, because that's all it is. That's all I'm stopped for. They'll give you a break, but the black one will come up on you and, don't think I'm going to give you a break because you black, and if I can't police nobody else, I'm going to police you. You're getting the ticket. And another thing that I find somewhat suspect is that there are so many black women, I won't say so many, but they're putting black women police chiefs in these big police departments instead of men. And the reason I believe they put these black women in these police chief positions instead of black men is when these white police officers go out there and take a black person's life and put a black woman's face to it, she's going to be able to convince the black community that it was justifiable, that they were really fearful of their lives, and this black person was really a threat because a black man is going to come out there looking a little different. So I think that's why they've got these black women all dolled up in this makeup And they're going to make it more believable when she says, oh, this was justifiable, and our police officers acted appropriately. And I think that a lot of black men don't want to go into police departments because they don't want to do these dirty things that these departments require of you. And that's something that black people, as a people, we spend so much time talking about stuff that's not important, but we don't go to city council meetings and we don't go in and ask, what kind of police culture do you have? What is your hiring practice? What are the qualifications for being a police officer other than that they finished the police academy? What kind of character does this person have? And how come they keep moving from police department to police department? Why can't they stay put somewhere? So these are questions I think that we could ask, but we spend so much time in other kinds of foolishness, and then when something happens, we start calling for police reform or defund the police, when in fact, if you talk to black people in some of these neighborhoods, they don't want the police to be defunded, and they don't want to do away with the police departments, because that's the only protection that they have. And if you ask black children who live in some of these neighborhoods, they don't see the police as the threat. And so that tells you something right there. These black police officers are beginning to voice their concerns about being black and police officers and being in a systemic situation where there is a culture of brutality against black people, but they're not expected to say anything or do anything but to go along. But see, I'm going to go from a different angle on this. I think America should start questioning why these white police officers are afraid to go into really threatening situations. They have all the police equipment that they need, all the body protection that they need, and they still won't go inside of these situations where these massacres are taking place. They won't even take out the black people in the community that are a menace to those communities. When they come in to police black people, black folk know who the problems are in their communities, and they will tell the police because they have the tip lines and everything. But they'll come into the community and go all around where they know these guys live to go bother somebody that's not doing anything to anybody. Again, they will take out a nuisance. They'll deal with the nuisance, but they won't touch Big Boochie. And they know he's the one that's doing all of the things that they say are wrong in that community. But they don't bother him. And that is where we are with this policing. Because with the enslaved people, those people were not a threat. Those people trying to get to freedom, but somehow that was a crime. But the people who are actually doing something, look how long it took them to take down Jesse James and Frank James. All of those outlaw gangs in the Wild Wild West, Billy the Kid and Bonnie and Clyde. It took forever to take them down because they fought back. Real criminals fight back. That's how come they don't want to fight the criminals. So they make black people into criminals, whether they're children, whether they're innocent black men riding around on a bicycle eating a banana, whether it's black women who have some type of mental disability. Anybody that's black can become a criminal in their minds because they really don't want to fight the real criminals. I applaud these police officers for finally bringing these issues to light, because there are black police officers who want to do a good job. But the black community has to be behind them. We can't always act like children fighting each other. We have some real issues in our communities, but we don't do the responsible things, and that is why we don't get the respect that we deserve. I want to end with this because it's really significant. We have had a number of situations where young white men with lethal weapons have been in schools and office buildings and other places, and folks have been frantically calling for the police, and it either takes them too long to get there or it takes them too long to go inside and neutralize that threat. Every time something happens, black people need to bring this stuff up. Who's really policing, and why do you want to be a police officer? And who do you want to police? That's a very important question. Who do you want to police? If you just want to police black people, then you don't need to be on the force, because black people are not the major threat in America. As a black American population, I think we have to mature our thinking, and we have to know when we need to unite with each other to protect each other against the threat. We can always go back to bickering back and forth with each other. So anyway, these police officers are now speaking out. Black police officers are now speaking out. And what black police officers, especially the ones that are retired and have their pension and don't have to worry about what the culture is, they need to start speaking to the black community and telling black people what we need to do to get better policing. Because we can't do away with the police when we still have threats in the community. And black law enforcement people who know what needs to be said and what the black community needs to do, I think it would be very helpful if they would speak out. And I think it would be extremely helpful if we would listen to them and follow their lead so we can have better protection and better policing in our communities. Okay, y'all, I want you to let me know what you think about this. Thank you for listening. Subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, share the video, and as always, have a great day.